The last thing we're going to do in our Unit 1 notes is practice simplifying some radicals, specifically multiplying the radicals. And I've listed out a few steps here on what you should do. You should multiply the coefficients first, the numbers outside the radicals, then multiply the numbers inside the radicals, and simplify if possible. So let's do that. On the first one, you can see we only have numbers inside the radicals. So when we multiply them, we get radical 3 times 15 is 45. 45, however, can break down because we know based on our factor tree it's 5 times 9, and 9 is 3 times 3. So what we really have here is 5 times 3 times 3. And the rule is when you have a pair of numbers in a square root, you take them out and write them once. So our final answer becomes 3 radical 5. Let's try the next one. We would multiply 12 times 12, which is 144. The square root of 144 is just 12. All right, now we're going to get a little more complicated. We have outside coefficients that need to be multiplied and inside numbers that need to be multiplied. So when I do 9 times 8, I get 72. 10 times 5 is 50. 50, however, does break down. It's 5 times 10. 5 can't break down further, but 10 breaks to 2 times 5. So what I have here is 72 radical 5 times 5 times 2. I can pull out this pair of 5s and write it once. I have to multiply it by that 72 that's already there, so that gives me 360 radical 2. On this one, this simply means 3 radical 2 times 3 radical 2. Anything squared is that quantity times itself. 3 times 3 makes 9. 2 times 2 makes 4, but the square root of 4 is just 2. So that's how we end up with 18 for our final answer. Down here we have to do a little bit of distributing. Radical 6 times radical 3 is radical 18. Radical 6 times radical 2 is radical 12. They are not the same quantity under the radical, so I cannot add them together and get like radical 30. That's not how you handle radicals. That would be illegal. And I can't really simplify them too much, but 18 does break down a bit. I could call that 3 times 6, and 6 is 2 times 3. So 18 would become 3 radical 2. Similarly, when I try to break down 12, that is 3 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. So this becomes 2 radical 3. Because the pair of 2's come out, and I write it once, and the 3 remains behind. And this is just going to be my final answer here. I can't really do anything else with it because radical 2 and radical 3 are not the same. If I had something different, which we may encounter in this next problem, I'll explain that. Otherwise, I'll go back and change this problem a little bit. 2 radical 5 times 3 radical 6 is 6 radical 30. 2 radical 5 minus 4 radical 8 is negative 8 radical 40. Again, if we break down 30, that's 3 times 10. 10 is 2 times 5. So I can't really simplify this radical at all. If I try to break down 40, that's 5 times 8. 8 is 2 times 4. And 4 is 2 times 2. So 40 would reduce a little bit. So 6 radical 30 minus, I'm going to take a pair of 2's out. So 16, 2 times 8 makes 16. Radical 10 left behind. Again, these are not similar here, the same quantity under the radical, so I can't reduce it any further. Let me give you an example of when we could. If we end up with 5 radical 6 plus 8 radical 6, that becomes 13 radical 6. But these quantities must be identical in order for you to combine them together. If they're not, you simply can't combine them together.